Hello, my name is Randy Silva, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the August 21st issue of the Rochester Business Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Clinton, Golisano Institute grads have the tools to succeed in an AI-driven economy, by Andrea Decker. Former President Bill Clinton told graduates of the Golisano Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship that their practical business education and grounding in artificial intelligence have positioned them for success in a rapidly changing economy. You have learned to make a practical, positive use of a new technology that we don't totally understand the full reach of, Clinton said during the Institute's August 14th commencement. You are leaving here with the most valuable set of tools you have. Clinton, the 42nd President of the United States and founder of the Clinton Foundation, delivered the commencement address to more than 450 graduates, family members, faculty, and regional business leaders at the Rochester campus. The ceremony marked the first graduating class of the Institute's one-year AI and Business program and the third graduating class of its two-year Business and Entrepreneurship program. 54 students received their credential, including 10 graduates from the inaugural AI and Business cohort. For the Institute, the results are an early indication that its accelerated, hands-on approach is translating into the opportunities for students. About 85% of the graduates have secured business employment or founded businesses by graduation. Our students practice in-demand business skills and behaviors daily, Ian Mortimer, the Institute's president, said. This, combined with direct access to business leaders and entrepreneurs, leads to jobs. They leave here with the confidence, skills, and connections and professionalism to succeed, and we're seeing that reflected in the opportunities they're earning. Clinton emphasized that technology alone will not determine whether graduates succeed. He urged them to understand the importance of collaboration and interdependence as they enter the workforce. You can't deny the world is highly interdependent, he said. He also encouraged graduates to think carefully about how they measure success. Whatever you do, I wish you every success. But you get to define who you are, and you are in total control of how you keep score in your life, Clinton said. The Institute places a similar emphasis on the human side of business education, Mortimer said. Thanks to our faculty and staff, we are able to deliver that, he said. The commencement also brought together Clinton and Tom Golisano, the Paychex founder, entrepreneur, and philanthropist who launched the Institute in 2023. Golisano and Clinton have worked together for more than 2 decades, including through the Clinton Global Initiative. Golisano was a founding sponsor and major financial underwriter when the initiative launched in 2005. The two also have collaborated on efforts to expand opportunities and improve healthcare access for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The Clinton Global Initiative honored Golisano with its Clinton Global Citizen Award in 2025 for its philanthropic work. We've had the chance to work together on causes that matter a great deal to me, so having him here for this graduating class is especially meaningful, Golisano said. I've seen firsthand what these students put into their business education, and they've earned this day. Golisano praised Clinton's warmth and ability to remember people's names, while acknowledging that his admiration for the former president developed over years of working together. I didn't vote for him either time he ran for president, Golisano said, drawing laughter from the audience. But if he ran today, I wouldn't just vote for him. I'd help him. That's how much I think about President Clinton. Clinton, who turns 80 on August 19th, reflected the passage of time during his address. It doesn't take long to live a life, he said, recalling that it did not seem long ago that he was sworn in as the nation's third youngest president. Founded in 2023, the Golisano Institute operates from a former Paychex facility at 150 Sawgrass Drive in Rochester. It offers accelerated business education focused on practical skills and real-world experience with an annual tuition of $8,900. The institution is expanding beyond Rochester. Its second location in Buffalo is scheduled to launch September 9th. Both campuses offer the 2-year Business and Entrepreneurship program and 1-year Advanced Certificate in AI and Business. The school also offers a 1-year certificate in Strategic AI Implementation for organizations seeking to train employees in applying AI in the workplace. Fall 2026 registration for the Rochester and Buffalo campuses remains open through August 28th, with classes beginning in September. In addition to their credentials, graduates received custom Golisano Institute blazers from Rochester clothier Adrian Jules. Terry Pegula, owner of the Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills, and Tim Shriver, chairman of Special Olympics and the Institute's 2025 commencement speaker, also attended the ceremony and met with students. Pridemark ventures outside the typical townhouse mold with Victor Project by Kevin Oklobzija. The latest townhouse project by Pridemark Homes is targeting not only the usual suspects, empty nesters and retirees, but also the upper middle tier buyers that can't find what they want in the newly built single-family home market. Bluestone Trail in the town of Victor provides modern floor plans with high-end finishes at a more affordable price point. We're trying to capture at a different part of the market and try to bring that starting price down, said Jim Barbato, president of Pridemark Homes, Inc. The longtime Rochester homebuilder hopes to do so by creating two-story colonial-style townhomes along with the typical ranch-style property within the Bluestone project, giving buyers more options. We're looking to appeal not just to the empty nester/senior component that we typically see with our ranch-style townhouse, Barbato said, but also that younger buyer trying to get into the housing market but has been priced out. Now we're able to provide a two-story townhouse with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a 2-car garage that can appeal to that first-time homebuyer or that second-time homebuyer that wants to own, likes the idea of a maintenance-free townhouse community, and wants to buy something brand new with warranties and high-efficiency furnace appliances. Starting prices will be in the low $400,000s and mid $400,000 depending on style. By comparison, at Pridemark's project on Cedarway Circle in Webster, Greenbrier Crossing, townhomes start in the low 500s and climb to the mid 600s with the base price. There will be 59 units across 16 buildings with 2 phases of construction. Phase 1, which includes 30 units, is underway. The model home should be ready for showing in late October, Barbato said. There will be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. We're coming in with some different designs and we're mixing in smaller floor plans than we traditionally do with a ranch style, he said. But we're also putting in some 2-story colonial designs. We're doing a nice open floor plan, 1-bedroom ranch for somebody that doesn't need a large home. Most of the homes are on a walkout or partial walkout, so it gives people the opportunity to finish as much or as little as they want on the lower level, where they can add 1 or 2 bedrooms, another bathroom, a rec room on the lower level, but keeping that main floor a little more affordable. By building townhomes, there are built-in efficiencies, from shared walls to greater density on the property. And there are some inherent efficiencies just from the cost of infrastructure, Barbato said. We're putting more homes on the same amount of infrastructure, which brings the cost for everybody down. If you have the traditional single-family home neighborhood where your lots are 90 or 100 feet wide, every home takes 90 or 100 feet of road frontage to build. We're able to do more than double that on the road frontage, which inherently creates an efficiency. Preliminary work on the project began about 3 years ago, from renderings to municipal approvals to utility infrastructure. Along the way, developers need to figure out how possible new laws regarding natural gas would impact construction. We had that gas ban going through when we were finalizing our plans, so we faced the "do we gas and electric the community?" Barbato said. In our first phase, we have gas and electric, we're sure of that. Time will tell whether we have gas and electric in the second phase. We'll see what happens on the legal front. Bluestone Trail sits between Rawson Road and the Auburn Trail and is in the Victor Central School District. We're on the Victor Village border. It's a great school system with Victor schools, and we're right on the Auburn Trail, which is great for recreation and fitness, Barbato said. It's a nice amenity built right into the project. Plus, we have a sidewalk throughout the community and a nice pond system. There's also a homeowners association, HOA, that will include exterior maintenance, snow removal, trash service, and some insurance. CACI opens Manufacturing Center for Defense Electronics in Pittsford by Andrea Decker. A multi-billion-dollar national security company is expanding its manufacturing footprint in the Rochester region, opening a new facility in Pittsford that will serve as a center for advanced defense electronics. CACI International Inc., NYSE CACI, officially opened its 61,000 square foot Manufacturing Center of Excellence for Defense Electronics on August 18th at 3750 Monroe Ave. The facility is one of the Fortune 500 company's largest manufacturing sites and increases its manufacturing space by more than 300%. Years ago, we invested in software-defined innovation because we knew the character of modern warfare was changing, said John Mangucci, CACI President and CEO. Today, those investments are being transformed into advanced electronic warfare capabilities right here in Rochester. Mengucci said the new facility represents CACI's commitment to the Rochester region, which he said continues to establish itself as a next-generation technology hub. With room for future expansion, the Pittsford Center gives CACI additional capacity to manufacture software-defined electronic warfare systems at scale as demand for advanced defense technologies grows, he added. Reston, Virginia-based CACI provides technology and services to branches of the U.S. federal government, including defense, homeland security, and intelligence agencies. The company generated nearly $9.7 billion in revenue in fiscal 2026 and employs about 27,000 people worldwide. The Pittsford facility will serve as a hub for the development, testing, assembly, and delivery of electronic warfare technologies for U.S. military forces. It will also support production, delivery training, customer acceptance testing, and on-site storage for CACI's Terrestrial Layer System Brigade Combat Team Manpack, or TLS BCT Manpack program with the U.S. Army. The TLS Manpack system is a mobile, software-based system designed to give dismounted soldiers electronic warfare capabilities to operate in and control the electromagnetic battlespace. Last year, CACI was awarded a contract modification from the U.S. Army valued at nearly $400 million to continue the procurement, training, and deployment of the TLS BCT Manpack. Chris Monosky, CACI's Executive Vice President of Manufacturing, pointed to the region's workforce and talent pipeline as key factors in the company's decision to locate the manufacturing center in Rochester. This facility reflects our long-term commitment to the region and positions us to deliver advanced capabilities faster, at greater scale, and with a quality our customers depend on, Monosky said. There's no better place than Rochester for this facility. Monosky is among numerous Rochester Institute of Technology engineering graduates working for CACI. The facility will also support a network of more than 24 manufacturing and fabrication small business suppliers across upstate New York involved in producing TLS Manpack. CACI has maintained a Rochester presence since 2019 when it acquired Mastodon Design LLC, a defense technology company based at 55 Science Parkway, for $225 million. Mastodon Design now operates as a CACI subsidiary. Federal judge dismisses RICO Act allegations against Mott, for now, by Kevin Oklabzija. A U.S. District Court judge has dismissed claims by Five Star Bank that restaurateur Catherine Mott and co-defendants violated federal racketeering statutes in an alleged check-kiting scheme, but left the door open for the refiling of charges. District Judge Frank P. Geraci, Jr. ruled on Monday the evidence presented in the civil case did not support Five Star Bank's allegations that Mott participated in Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act-defined RICO activity. The alleged check-kiting activities by Mott and co-defendants Robert Harris, her husband, Christina Bourne, Taylor Pagano, and Timothy LaRocca, all former employees, took place between December of 2022 and March of 2024. At the height of the scheme, Five Star's complaint said Mott, 56, kited more than $62 million between various accounts from February 22nd, 2024 to March 5th, 2024. By the time Five Star discovered the illicit activity and closed her many personal and business accounts, the bank suffered a loss of nearly $19 million. A complaint was filed in federal court on March 11, 2024, and Five Star then filed an amended complaint 2 months later on May 8th, alleging her actions were covered by the RICO Act. But Judge Geraci ruled the activity did not violate either the closed-ended continuity requirement or open-ended continuity requirement of RICO because the check-kiting activities did not take place for at least 2 years, a requirement of the closed-ended clause, and the scheme was inherently terminable because by closing her accounts there was an obvious ending point to the activity, meaning the open-ended clause did not apply. The judge, however, will allow Five Star to seek additional limited discovery from other banks, and if evidence is obtained that supports RICO violations, another complaint may be filed. Five Star's amended complaint alleges that 4 other financial institutions closed accounts associated with Mott before she became a Five Star company. Evans Bank and Lions National Bank closed her accounts in late 2022 because of suspected check-kiting activity. Tompkins Community Bank closed accounts to quote, inappropriate transaction history, no date was specified. Kanadawa Bank and Trust closed accounts affiliated with Ma and entity defendants in 2022 because Five Star argued in its complaint that it could plausibly be alleged close-ended continuity if it were able to substantiate its claims related to Ma's previous pattern of check kiting at other financial institutions. Judge Jirachi will allow Five Star to subpoena that information. He ruled that it is reasonable to allow plaintiffs to serve limited discovery on the 4 financial institutions where plaintiff alleges that defendants began their scheme. The court must approve the limited scope of the subpoenas. Ma pleaded guilty in December 2024 in federal court to financial institution fraud and money laundering. Her sentencing has been rescheduled 5 times, apparently because she continues to cooperate with federal authorities. She had operated Monroe's Restaurant, the Winter Garden, Divinity Estate and Chapel, and several other dining and/or catering businesses. The criminal and civil proceedings also ended her efforts to remodel and reopen Crescent Beach Restaurant in Greece. The lender has since foreclosed on that property. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Rochester Business Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Smith Displays introduces wave-mixing physics to unlock the smart glasses market, special to the RBJ. Big tech firms increasingly agree that smart glasses will be the go-to device for consumers to interact with AI. Yet putting these devices on millions of users relies on fixing a massive engineering riddle. How do you turn a transparent glass lens into a digital display screen without ruining its clarity? Right now, trying to force eyewear to pull double duty introduces 3 major visual flaws: the screen sickness users feel when trying to focus, an awkward eye glow that leaks the screen's image to onlookers, posing security risks, and lenses that look dim instead of perfectly clear. Current market alternatives rely entirely on older diffractive or reflective optics. These traditional methods force developers to accept severe hardware constraints, sacrificing battery life and brightness while creating manufacturing bottlenecks that prevent mass production. A new branch of display physics. Fortunately, an emerging deep tech spin-out from the University of Southampton has developed an industry-first innovation with the capability to turn everyday lenses into bright, fully transparent digital windows. Led by the University of Oxford graduate Dr. Peter G.R. Smith, Smith Displays' patented wave-mixing technology introduces an entirely new branch of display physics specifically for augmented reality, AR, developers. Instead of bouncing images across the surface of the glass, wave-mixing changes how light behaves inside the eyepiece. By replacing the need to use complex, bulky optics to deliver display capabilities, both the engineering riddle and the 3 eyewear flaws can be solved. This enables AR developers to design displays inside smart glasses that look just like regular spectacles, with fully transparent lenses, daylight brightness, zero eye glow, and day-long battery life. To prove that this display technology could fit into lightweight, fashionable eyewear, Smith Displays recently collaborated with Sony and its spin-out Scale Photonics on the miniaturization of laser architectures, validating that its system meets strict consumer requirements. Anchoring in Rochester's OPI ecosystem. To speed the transition of these advanced optical designs into physical products, Smith Displays applied to the Cohort 9 of the Illuminate Accelerator in Rochester, New York. While the company originated within the United Kingdom's optics cluster, it chose to establish a U.S. commercialization path by tapping into the unparalleled scale of Rochester's optics manufacturing, design, and supply chain infrastructure. A primary driver for joining the program was the opportunity to align with vital regional deep tech initiatives. This includes the newly developing Center for Extended Reality at the University of Rochester, led by former CTO of Meta's Reality Labs and current Illuminate Advisory Board member Dr. Barry Silverstein. Illuminate's structured mentorship and training are preparing Smith Displays to engage directly with those in its primary target market, consumer smart glasses. Major brands, including Meta, Snap, Google, and Samsung, are actively expanding their AI eyewear portfolios, creating an addressable market projected to reach hundreds of millions of units. Illuminate's commercialization experts are helping the startup refine its investor narrative and supply chain strategy to meet these mass production demands. Illuminate has provided incredible mentorship, training, and flexible funding. It's also connected us to key industry players, said Smith, CEO of Smith Displays. In getting a deeper understanding of the resources that exist here, we're seeing opportunities to set up a supply chain in the U.S. for supporting eyewear opportunities across multiple markets. Broad market opportunities. While consumer smart glasses represent the fastest pathway to widespread deployment, the technology's hands-free interface offers utility across several adjacent markets. In industrial settings, factory workers can utilize AI-guided displays for real-world training and assembly lines. In public healthcare, the system can provide real-time subtitling for hearing-impaired individuals. Furthermore, the lack of eye glow and total transparency make the technology highly applicable for defense and security sectors, requiring strict operational privacy. Dr. Sujatha Ramanujan, Managing Director and Chief Investment Officer of Luminate, emphasizes how transforming legacy engineering can open up these expansive application landscapes. True breakthroughs in deep tech require more than incremental updates. They demand a willingness to displace traditional science and rewrite established processes, says Ramanujan. By inventing a completely new way to bypass legacy optical limitations, Smith Displays is doing exactly that. Their wave-mixing technology doesn't just improve smart glasses, it unseats decades of restrictive display physics to unlock new avenues for innovation across the entire AR ecosystem. Future scaling and follow-on funding. To commercialize its novel branch of display physics beyond market valuation, the Smith Displays team is creating a roadmap for scaling its engineering operation. On September 30th at Luminate Finals, the startup will compete against its cohort peers for a portion of $2 million in follow-on capital, including the premier $1 million investment in Company of the Year. The accelerator and the funding it provides is supported by Empire State Development's Finger Lakes Forward Upstate Revitalization Initiative. If they receive funding, Smith Displays plans to establish a permanent design and prototyping facility within New York State. This dedicated infrastructure will leverage the region's elite optical design talent to produce active prototype units for direct validation by supply chain partners and big tech developers. Beyond immediate commercial testing, the company also hopes to establish a physical New York base. This will allow it to apply for federal SBIR and STTR grants to help move its technology into defense and security hardware alongside academic research initiatives that are currently underway in Rochester. For more information about the Luminate Accelerator and Finals 2026, visit luminate.org. Boosting College Student Retention in the Rochester Region by Corey Putnam. Just over 2/3 of students who entered college in fall of 2024 were still enrolled at the institution where they started 1 year later, according to a June 2026 report from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center. Across the Rochester Finger Lakes region, higher education leaders say helping students stay in college starts by making sure they feel supported, connected, and confident that they belong. SUNY Brockport. Financial concerns remain the biggest factor affecting whether students stay in college, said Sarah Kelly, Ph.D., Vice President for Enrollment Management at SUNY Brockport. We know that the cost of higher education is top of mind for students and their families throughout their college journey, Kelly said, noting that to help ease those concerns, Brockport has invested in new scholarships and emergency grants. Beyond affordability, students are also more likely to persist when they feel a sense of belonging and develop connections with their peers, Kelly said. The outside-of-the-classroom experience is incredibly important for student retention, Kelly said. Creating a culture of hospitality where students feel welcome and supported, along with a strong array of student programming options for all interests, helps students find their community within the community. Strong academic support and advisement are equally important, particularly as students look for a college experience that will prepare them for graduate school or a career. Internships, hands-on learning, and early guidance can all contribute to what Kelly describes as a value-filled experience. One aspect of student success that has changed in recent years is the role of parents and families. Parents and family members are, perhaps more than ever, partners in their student success story, Kelly said. The shift has prompted Brockport to develop a new parent program that includes a dedicated communication and engagement plan. During summer orientation, the university also offers a track exclusively for parents and family members. Kelly noted that many K-12 schools now give parents real-time access to their children's grades, creating greater transparency and opportunities for intervention. That involvement, however, can leave some students accustomed to relying on parents for reminders and time management. Brockport works with families on ways they can continue supporting their students while also encouraging them to become more independent and develop their own time management skills. Our faculty and staff are supportive and help demonstrate to students that they can be successful in college and achieve their goals far beyond college, Kelly said. We are here to help them get there. Brockport's recent retention numbers suggest those combined efforts are gaining ground. The university's first-year retention rate for its fall 2024 cohort was 75.9%, its highest since 2016, while persistence among transfer students in the fall of 2024 cohort was 82.5. Kelly pointed to several coordinated student success efforts, including Brockport's participation in the SUNY Academic Momentum Campaign, a SUNY-wide initiative that seeks to improve retention and completion by proactively identifying and addressing barriers to earning a degree, strengthening academic support systems, and providing student success strategies tailored to individual needs. Cayuga College. I think retention comes down to two questions. Can I afford to stay, and do I belong here? Said Pete Beckids, Vice President for Enrollment, Marketing, and Technology at Cayuga College. Finances determine whether staying is possible. Belonging determines whether it feels worth it. At Cayuga, where 55% of students are Pell eligible, Beckids sees financial pressure as one of the three major factors affecting retention, along with mental health and academic preparedness. We are as generous as possible with financial aid, and the after-aid price gap between Cayuga College and SUNY College is far smaller than most families assume, Beckids says. But inflation has created real pressure. Pell eligibility does not necessarily indicate poverty-level classification, Beckids noted. Students from many working and middle-income families qualify for at least some Pell funding, meaning financial strain extends across a broader share of the student population than many may realize. Mental health needs have also increased in recent years, and Beckids sees a close connection between mental health, belonging, and student engagement. The needs of this generation are much higher than what we saw just a few years ago, and it compounds with the sense of belonging, Beckids says. The data consistently shows that students who engage in co-curricular activities and form communities on campus retain at significantly higher rates. But engagement is exactly what's hardest for a student navigating anxiety, depression, or chronic burnout. It's a 1-2 punch. Academic preparedness presents another challenge. Beckids says Cayuga is seeing students arrive with foundational gaps, particularly in English and math, which are not always reflected in their high school GPAs. Students who performed adequately in high school may not recognize those gaps and therefore may not immediately seek help. They're essential. Engagement is the strongest lever we have, Beckids says, of experiences and support beyond academics. Student athletes, for example, often arrive with a built-in community and retain at higher rates, Beckids says. The challenge is creating similar opportunities for connection among other students. This generation engages even with their close friends through digital proxies, Beckids says. So, the retention challenge of the next few years is making sure students who choose a campus-based experience understand that human interaction isn't incidental to the value of college. It's a big part of the value itself. Cayuga has also invested in a new student success portal that provides students with a personalized digital entry point to primarily in-person experiences and support. Students can use it to find events and co-curricular activities, locate tutors for individual courses, and connect with writing specialists, career coaches, librarians, and financial aid counselors. On the back end, the tool also integrates grades, notes, and alerts from faculty members, so academic affairs and student life administrators get a 360-degree picture of each student's progress, Beckids says. That allows administrators to identify students who could benefit from events or support services and reach out to those who may not be seeking help on their own. Cayuga is preliminary projecting a 6 to 7% increase in first-year retention this year. That's not because of the portal itself, of course, but the services under its umbrella, Beckids says. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Rochester Business Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Back to boosting college student retention in the Rochester region with the Finger Lakes Community College. For community college students, staying enrolled can mean balancing coursework with jobs, family responsibilities, and the financial demands of everyday life. Often, there's a tension between time spent working to pay bills and time spent on classes, said Deborah Ortloff, Ph.D., Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Assessment at Finger Lakes Community College, FLCC. While financial aid programs can help students cover tuition and other educational expenses, living expenses remain a challenge, Ortloff said. That can be particularly significant for an increasingly older student population that may be juggling college with jobs and family responsibilities. The share of FLCC students who are out of high school and age 25 or older increased from 34% in 2023 to 40% in 2025. The SUNY Reconnect program, launched in fall of 2025 to help adult New Yorkers earn associate degrees in high-demand fields, has contributed to the increase, Ortloff said. Other populations can face additional barriers to staying enrolled, including first-generation students who may have fewer family members or friends familiar with navigating college, and neurodivergent students, including those with ADHD, autism, or dyslexia. For those reasons, support beyond academics can play an important role in retention. We know that what are known as wraparound services, which consist of advising, coaching, tutoring, and financial assistance, help students overcome barriers, Ortloff said. At FLCC, that includes an emergency fund that distributed $145,230 during the 2024-25 academic year to help students with utility bills, car repairs, and other major expenses that could otherwise derail their education. Internships and co-ops can help students connect their coursework to career goals, while flexible course formats, including online and high-flex classes, can make it easier to fit college into their lives. FLCC's retention data also point to the impact of direct academic support. All new students are assigned a success coach, and those who met with their coach during their first term had next term retention rates 9 percentage points higher than students who did not receive coaching. Students who use the college's tutoring center consistently have one-year retention rates, which are about 15 percentage points higher than those who do not seek tutoring, Ortloff said. Students who used academic advising during their first term had one-year retention rates 10 percentage points higher than those who did not. Flexible course offerings may provide another advantage. Students taking a combination of online and in-person classes represent 25% of FLCC's student population, but account for only 18% of those who are not retained after 1 year. This fall, FLCC is also turning to artificial intelligence to better support neurodivergent students. Through its FLX AI Hub, the college has been helping faculty to use AI to develop differentiated learning materials and has created a neurodivergent prompt library. The ability to create a wide variety of highly engaging learning material to support different approaches to learning is a critical new way we will be supporting persistence, Ortloff said. Roberts Wesleyan University. For Nicholas J. Willis, Ph.D., president of Roberts Wesleyan University, improving student retention starts with recognizing that there is no single problem for colleges to solve. A mathematician by training who became Roberts Wesleyan's president July 1st, Willis said he tends to look for an equation to solve a problem. When it comes to retention, however, there's too many variables for such a simple solution. If that were true, a lot of schools would have fixed their retention problems, Willis said. Instead, Willis points to a concept he calls friction creates fallout. Administrative hurdles, difficulty scheduling classes or paying a bill, poor advising, and other seemingly small frustrations can accumulate until a student decides that the college experience is no longer worth it. All these things just create little friction points, and those things add up over time, and people just fall out, Willis said. That perspective also shapes the way Willis views finances as a retention issue. While some students face circumstances in which they simply cannot afford to remain enrolled, he believes financial concerns are often closely tied to whether students believe they are receiving sufficient value from their college experience. The price is never the issue for students per se, it's value, Willis said. Students are asking themselves, he said, whether I'm getting the value out of the institution that I need to get for the price that I'm paying. Community is another part of that value equation. Willis pointed to student athletes who often have a built-in group with common goals and a sense of family as an example of how connection can influence retention. Roberts is looking at ways to create that same sense of belonging for students beyond athletics. You create community for them and suddenly they want to stay on your campus and they're not complaining about the bill, Willis said. This year, Roberts will have 12 undergraduate peer student success coaches working with freshmen. The coaches are intended to provide another avenue for students to share concerns they may be reluctant to bring to a professor or resident assistant, allowing the university to identify earlier signs that a student is struggling. Roberts has also consolidated a number of student success services under one leader and in one location in an effort to make accessing support more seamless. But Willis cautions against looking only for broad institutional solutions to retention. Sometimes, he said, a roommate problem, a difficult interaction with an office, or even a particular course can become the friction point that pushes an individual student towards leaving. When we think of students as a corporate mass of the students, retention becomes really difficult, because it really is a human experience, Willis said. For colleges, that means paying attention to the smaller places where students are struggling, rather than assuming every retention challenge requires a sweeping new initiative. We don't have to have a grand retention policy to do it, Willis said. We just have to keep our eyes open for places in the university where, again, it's the friction creates fallout, that we're creating friction points for our students, and we need to smooth those out. Corey Putnam is a Rochester area freelance writer. It's time to measure what matters in higher education. A Viewpoint by Dr. Ian Mortimer. For decades, college rankings have shaped how families think about higher education. They influence where students apply, how institutions compete, and, in many cases, how people define educational quality. Colleges are judged largely on retention and graduation rates, and appropriately so, but the surest way to move those numbers is institutional wealth. Well-resourced universities attract the most prepared and resourced students, which produces exactly the results ranking reward. It's not an accident that the same handful of institutions has rotated through the top 25% of the list for the years, or that cracking the top of the list is effectively closed to schools without significant financial coffers or non-academic financial inputs, e.g. major athletics. Those measures tell us something about a college. They tell us far less about what happens after graduation, which is what matters to most to a student and family making one of the largest investments of their life, and to employers who will hire them. Businesses value graduates who can walk into an organization and contribute, and that is difficult to capture in a ranking. Start with the day after graduation. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York reports that more than 4 in 10 recent college graduates are underemployed, working in jobs that typically do not require a college degree. Starting a career underemployed is hard to dig out of, and it should concern all of us in higher education. Underemployment of recent business graduates is more than 50%. At Glisano Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship, we measure placement the day after graduation. Of the 36 students who graduated this month from our 2-year business and entrepreneurship program, 3 in 4 have already found roles aligned with what they're trained to do in jobs that would typically require a bachelor's degree and that pay a wage above the underemployment line. A college education is an investment of time and money, and for many students it means taking on debt. A former colleague once described student debt to me as a bet on future earnings. That is a decision a 17 or 18-year-old and family makes because they believe in the institution will hold up its end, which makes it a partnership, not something a student carries alone. So colleges should be transparent about outcomes. How many graduates are employed and can live independently shortly after finishing? How many are in roles that fit their education and goals? Employers are hiring behaviors, not just knowledge. Technical knowledge remains important, but knowledge alone is becoming less differentiating. If you need to know something, much of it can be found quickly on your phone, and artificial intelligence is accelerating that shift. What increasingly separates people in the workplace is behavior and attitude. Employers want people who show up on time, listen before they talk, ask substantive questions, and work thoughtfully within a team. Higher education should develop those behaviors deliberately rather than assume students will pick them up organically at school or on the job. At the Institute, our faculty and staff model what professionalism looks like, and we hold students to the same standard. Punctuality is measured. Networking is taught and practiced. Students meet hundreds of people they would not otherwise have access to, and they learn to engage with them without being intimidated. The standard is strict, and some students decide it's not for them, and that's okay. The curriculum runs the same way. Students complete 96 credits in 24 months and are expected to think through problems rather than simply know the material. This summer, some of our students interned at a Wall Street firm alongside others from Ivy League and NESCAC schools. When I asked what set them apart, they said the other interns kept coming to them for help, building simple AI tools and making sense of data. In one exercise, the firm handed the group large data sets and asked them to tell a business story about what they saw. Our students were done in 15 minutes. Their advantage was not knowing about AI. It was knowing how to use it to answer a business question. Preparing students for jobs that don't exist yet. As industries evolve and technology changes, we cannot know exactly what jobs will exist 5, 10, or 20 years from now. What higher education can do is give students enough understanding of the technology reshaping work so that they are not intimidated by them. Artificial intelligence is the obvious example. People get paralyzed by AI when they don't understand what sits underneath it. Our students learn how algorithms and processors work, how to code, how models are built, so they can judge what the technology can and cannot do as it evolves. Organizations get paralyzed the same way. Someone says the company needs to implement AI, and no one in the room knows what that actually means. We are already seeing that turn into new roles. One of our new graduates is joining VP Supply here in Rochester, reporting to the president as the company's internal AI champion. The position didn't exist until they met him. His technical skills mattered, but what got him hired was knowing how to move, communicate, and work inside an organization. Look beyond the ranking. For students and families evaluating colleges, I would start with two things. A ranking cannot capture: people and culture. Look for an environment that will challenge and support students academically, and in how they communicate and work with others. Ask whether anyone is actually there. Are faculty around and available outside of class, or does campus empty out by late afternoon? You're paying for people, and credits alone do not demonstrate that someone knows how to work. For business leaders, the stakes are just as high. The strength of higher education determines the talent available to every organization in this region. Employers need people who can do the work, strengthen their teams, and solve problems the company may not know it has yet. That is why, if I could change one thing about how higher education is measured, I would start with a simple question. What is the student doing during the day of graduation, and are they financially independent? When institutions orient towards that metric, it creates urgency around everything that comes before it. For students, families, and employers alike, that tells us far more about the value of an education than a ranking ever could. Dr. Ian Mortimer is the president of Glissano Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship. Rochester L3 Harris Exec takes on a bigger role amid leadership changes, by Andrea Deckert. Christopher Abley, longtime L3 Harris Technologies executive based in Rochester, has been appointed president of the company's Communications and Spectrum Dominance segment as part of a broader leadership transition at the Aerospace and Defense Company. Abley, who joined L3 Harris in 1991, most recently served as president of Mission Critical Communications. His new role is effective immediately. The move comes as L3 Harris names Sam Mehta president and CEO and a member of its board of directors. Louis Hay III, the company's lead independent director, has been named independent chairman of the board. Christopher Kubasik has stepped down as chairman and CEO and as a member of the board following a conduct review. Mehta joined Florida-based L3 Harris in 2023 and has more than 25 years of strategic and operational experience in the aerospace and defense industry. Most recently, he led the company's Space and Mission Systems and Communications and Spectrum Dominance segments, which includes operations in Rochester. Abley brings more than 3 decades of experience at L3 Harris to his new position. During his career, he has held leadership roles spanning engineering, program management, sales, and international business. His previous positions include Vice President of Defense, Department Sales, Vice President of the U.S. Department of Defense Business, Vice President of International Business, President of the Legacy Global Communications Systems Sector, and President of the Legacy Tactical Communications Sector. Before joining L3 Harris, Abley worked as an engineer at the Naval Underwater Systems Center. Abley's promotion is significant for Rochester, where L3 Harris has a substantial presence and employs workers across a range of aerospace and defense programs. L3 Harris ranked as the region's largest manufacturer, employing roughly 3,800 people here. Beyond his role at L3 Harris, Abley serves on the boards of the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce and United Way of Greater Rochester and the Finger Lakes. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Rochester Business Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Family First announces director Brenda Stone earns prestigious Financial Crimes Investigator certification. Family First is proud to announce that Brenda Stone, Director of Operations, and CBSAP has earned the International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators IAFCI Financial Crimes Investigator certification, placing her among a small group of professionals with advanced, specialized training in detecting, investigating, and preventing financial crimes. Tommy John, Dr. Frank Jobe, Changed Sports and Medicine. On Sports, by Scott Petoniak. As time passed and Tommy John became further removed from a marvelous 26-year Major League Baseball pitching career that saw him win nearly 300 games, people often would come up to him and thank him for devising the revolutionary elbow surgery that has saved thousands of athletic careers. John would thank them and politely correct them, pointing out that he was the patient, not the doctor. "I tell them that Dr. Frank Jobe is the guy you should be praising," John told me before signing autographs at a Rochester Red Wings game in June 2005 at the ballpark then known as Frontier Field. "Without him, my career would have died a premature death, and nobody would have remembered Tommy John." True that, but clearly this was a collaborative effort. John and Jobe will forever be joined at the hip, or, more accurately, at the elbow. And thanks to the surgery that came to bear his name, Tommy John, who died Sunday at age 83, will be remembered for as long as they play baseball. By jointly venturing into the unknown in the autumn of 1974, a time when a torn ulnar collateral ligament was usually a baseball career death sentence, the innovative orthopedic and the determined pitcher changed not only the trajectory of their careers, but the world of sports and sports medicine. The reconstructive surgery, which saw Jobe take the seldom-used tendon from John's right non-throwing wrist and graft it to the pitcher's left elbow, enabled John to return to the mound and pitch for 13 more seasons. He would wind up winning more games after the surgery, 164, than before it. And the success he enjoyed would prompt thousands of others to follow his lead. Over time, the surgery became so commonplace that people throughout the baseball and medical communities began referring to it simply as the Tommy John, as in, he's scheduled to have Tommy John. In this era, when pitchers are required to throw as hard as they can for as long as they can and put as much spin and torque on the ball as possible, the incidence of Tommy John surgery have reached record levels. According to a 2023 American Medical Association study, 35.3% of active Major League pitchers had the surgery, an increase of 29% since 2016. The arm in baseball has two eras, before Tommy John and after Tommy John, Jeff Passan wrote in The Arm, an intriguing book about baseball's most powerful and fragile commodity. John was a walking billboard for the power of medical innovation, the genius of Frank Jobe. Jobe, who died in 2014 at the age of 88, lived a fascinating life. He had been a medic for the 101st Airborne in World War II, serving at the Battle of the Bulge. He earned his medical degree following the war and went to work for Dr. Robert Kurlan, the Los Angeles Dodgers team physician. The two formed a renowned sports medicine clinic that was ahead of its time. Jobe joined the Dodgers medical staff in 1968 and diagnosed the UCL tear John suffered while delivering a pitch during a game midway through the 1974 season. John tried resting his arm in hopes it would heal, but when he resumed batting practice a month later, it was still bothering him. Jobe told him the injury would not heal on its own. John, who had reeled off 13 victories to start the season, was desperate to find a solution. Jobe mentioned the experimental surgery, but was brutally honest about the potential outcomes. He said if I didn't have the surgery, I would flat out never pitch again, John recalled. And he told me even if I had the surgery, my odds were minuscule because we were heading into uncharted waters. But at least with the surgery, there was a chance, however remote, that I could pitch again. To me, that made the choice of surgery a no-brainer. John wound up missing the remainder of the 1974 season, as well as all of 75 while rehabbing. But he returned in 1976 to go 10-10 and win National League Comeback Player of the Year honors. In 3 of the next 4 seasons, he won 20 or more games. The pitcher, whose career seemed doomed, wound up pitching more seasons than any hurler not named Nolan Ryan. While playing for 6 different teams, including the Dodgers and New York Yankees, John finished with a .288 to .231 one-loss record, a 3.34 earned run average, more than 4,700 innings pitched, 2,245 strikeouts, and a 1.28 whip, walks hits per inning pitched. His numbers are comparable, and in some cases better, than several pitchers enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Only 2 hurlers with more wins have not been inducted. Roger Clemens, because of steroid allegations, and 19th century ace Bobby Matthews, who toiled before baseball adopted the pitching mound. Though John never played for a World Series champion, he excelled in October with a 6-3 record and a 2.65 ERA in 14 postseason games. I believe when you tack on the enormous impact he had on the sports thanks to the surgery named after him, he deserves a plaque in Cooperstown. We did a little surgery, but John did all the hard work, Job said at a Hall of Fame ceremony honoring his medical career in 2013. His tenacity and unique intelligence enabled us to develop the rehab program that has lasted the test of time. Job is deserving of enshrinement too, as a contributor. Just think how different baseball history would be had he not thought outside the box that he and John decided to call it quits back in 1974. They are joined at the elbow and should be joined on the hall's wall too, one of baseball's most dynamic duos. Break. Here are 2 additional Rochester tidbits that came up in my interview with John. While pitching for the Jacksonville Suns in 1962, he earned his first AAA victory by striking out legendary wing slugger Luke Easter with the bases loaded in the latter innings of a game at Silver Stadium. John also mentioned how he got to know late Wings player / coach / manager / general manager / broadcaster / goodwill ambassador Joe Altobelli when Alto was coaching the Yankees in the early 1980s. Joe's such a nice man, John said. He's Mr. Baseball everywhere he goes. Best-selling author and nationally honored journalist Scott Petoniak is the Rochester Business Journal sports columnist. Profit or purpose? Wrong question. It's just good business, by David Mamano. For years, we've been handed a choice in business. Do you want to make money, or do you want to make a difference? I think that's the wrong question. A good business should do both. In fact, I'd argue that profit and purpose don't just coexist, they need each other. Profit without purpose can become empty. Purpose without profit can become extinct. And neither one does much good for the community. As I spent more time talking with entrepreneurs, business leaders, and community organizations around Rochester, I've noticed something interesting. Some of the most impactful work happening in our community doesn't fit neatly into one box. It's businesses working with nonprofits, entrepreneurs working with educational institutions, established companies helping startups, even competitors sitting at the same table because they realize that improving Rochester is bigger than protecting their individual slice of the pie. That's good business. We love scoreboards in business: revenue, profit, growth, market share, number of employees, and those things matter a lot. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not going to pretend profit is a dirty word. Profit keeps people employed. Profit funds innovation. Profit pays taxes. Profit allows businesses to support nonprofits, sponsor community events, mentor young entrepreneurs, and invest back into the places they call home. But what if the scoreboard is bigger than we thought? What if we also measured how many careers we helped launch, how many local businesses we supported, how many people we mentored, how many introductions we made, how many problems in our community we helped solve? And here's one that may be even harder to measure. How many people are better off because our business exists? That's a pretty interesting KPI. One of the things I love about Rochester is that we're big enough to have incredible resources, but small enough that you can actually get the right people in a room together. The challenge is getting them into the room. Too often, businesses operate in silos. Nonprofits operate in silos. Universities operate in silos. Government operate in silos. Everyone is doing good work, but sometimes we're all digging in separate wells 10 feet apart. Imagine what would happen if we started digging together. The future of Rochester isn't going to be created by one company, one university, one nonprofit, or one charismatic leader riding into town on a white horse. It's going to happen through collaboration. It happens when someone says, "I know somebody you should meet." It happens when an established business opens a door for a startup. It happens when a university shares resources with the community. It happens when a successful entrepreneur gives time to someone who is just getting started. None of those things immediately show up on a quarterly P&L, but they create something incredibly valuable: momentum. Here's another misconception worth clearing up. Purpose doesn't mean giving away all your money. Purpose is understanding why your business matters beyond the transaction. A restaurant can have purpose. A manufacturing company can have purpose. A financial services firm can have purpose. A 2-person landscaping company can have purpose. Purpose might mean creating great jobs, developing young leaders, buying locally, treating vendors fairly, improving an industry, solving a frustrating problem, or supporting your neighborhood. You don't need a foundation and a giant check with your logo on it to have purpose. Sometimes good business is simply treating people really well while running a really good company. And here's the part we occasionally whisper instead of saying out loud. Good businesses need to make money. There's nothing noble about building a company that helps everyone except the people who own it. A profitable company can hire. A profitable company can invest. A profitable company can survive a recession. A profitable company can take a chance on someone. A profitable company can write the sponsorship check. A profitable company can still be around 10 years from now, doing all the things that made it special in the first place. Profit gives purpose oxygen. Purpose gives profit meaning. Maybe the next generation of great Rochester businesses shouldn't be judged only by how big they become. Maybe we should also ask how much better Rochester became because they were here. Did they create opportunity? Did they develop people? Did they collaborate? Did they solve problems? Did they leave something behind besides revenue? And yes, did they make money? Because we shouldn't have to choose. The best businesses create value for their customers, opportunity for their employees, returns for their owners, and impact for their communities. That's not charity. That's not capitalism with an apology attached. It's just good business. David Mamano is the creator and host of the Good Business Tour, a series that explores businesses proving you can do well by doing good. A lifelong entrepreneur, speaker, and educator, he is on a mission to shine a spotlight on companies that put people, purpose, and profit in the right order. Learn more at thegoodbusinesstour.com or email him at david@davidmamano.com. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the August 21st issue of the Rochester Business Journal. My name is Randy Silva. Thank you for listening.